It's our time now for business. And Emmanuel Abadjuri has joined me. Good evening to you, Emmanuel. I'm well. How about you? All right, you take it away.
Thank you very much, and thanks for joining me on Business. Managing Director of the Ghana Stock Exchange, Kofi Yamwa, has criticized the former Power Minister, Dr. Kwabena Donko's comments with regards to the listing of aspects of some power organizations, including Gridco and the VRA, on the stock exchange. In an interview with George Wiafe at the Ghana Stock Exchange, Kofi Yamwa rubbished calls by the former minister not to involve private participation in strategic national assets. He cited examples of other important companies that have all opened up to the public through capital markets.
Welcome news. We have been advocating for some of these measures some time back, and it's very glad to hear that this is coming from the highest person of the land, His Excellency the President. Two stories to talk about as far as this is concerned. One is signals from the highest person of the land that the private sector is what must drive the economy. And two, he talked about positioning this as a part of a master plan over the long term, essentially to make them more efficient. Coming to the market means that there will be shareholders who will exert that particular efficiency on you. And if you're doing well, then you must better perform even better than that. And so on that basis, we very much welcome that news. We want to support the various ministers in the relevant sectors of the economy who will be in charge of implementing some of these, that the exchange or the market as a whole is very much available to facilitate that. For me, it's gladdening because, one, it's not only when a company is in distress that it must come to the market. When a company is profitable, it's also an avenue for the company to be on the market for two main reasons. One, you want to improve on efficiency going forward. And two, you want to afford the opportunity to investors, whether you are looking at retail investors, whether you are looking at local institutional investors, including many of the private pension funds or non-resident portfolio investors. If these are available on the market, then particularly for local portfolio investors, including the pension fund, it becomes a great avenue for them to, one, invest in very secure environment and get good returns for pensioners in due course of time. So it's very welcome news for us. And on that basis, I also heard former minister saying
there are concerns about even whether it's a right approach to bring these institutions onto the market.
And that is why I'm saddened by the comment from the former Minister of Power. You see, because one, he made mention of the fact that it's ill-timed, is ill-advised, and that Gridco in particular was profitable. First and foremost, the market is not there for unprofitable companies. So if a company is profitable, then it's even more encouraging to bring such a company to the market for the reasons that I indicated. One, you want our pension companies to invest in the most profitable of entities in this country so that we can guarantee all pensioners good payments on their pensions. Two, you are also empowering the retail investing public to be part of profitable entities in this country. And that way, they get dividends, they get capital appreciations going forward. It's all part of the wealth creation that must be part of this new, new business going forward. And secondly, it talks about the fact that these companies, some of them are the brainy ones as far as the economy is concerned. If you look at the past performances of the economy, the sectorial-wise, you look at cocoa, you look at gold, you look at financial services. These are major contributors to the GDP of this country. And yet, in cocoa, we are privatized. There are many more cocoa buying companies in this country, more than 20. If you look at mining, the biggest mining companies contributing to this economy are privately held. When you come to financial services, banks, 32 and counting, general insurance companies, 26 and counting. And these are all in private hands. So if you say that the biggest contributors to the economy are in private hands, and they are brainy, then why not the power sectors?
All right, so this is an interesting debate that's been going on for some time now. But what exactly did the president say? And I'd like us to go back to the State of the Nation address and hear exactly what President Akufo-Addo said.
Overall, we began to develop a national electricity master plan, which will also explore the benefits of listing VRA and Gridco on the stock exchange.
All right, so it says explore the benefits of listing VRA and Gridco on the stock exchange, which means that it's not emphatic
at all.
There's no plan indeed to list them. They're considering what the benefits will be if they're listed. So let's hear what Dr. Kwabena Donkor, the former Power Minister, also had to say in reaction to what President Akufo-Addo said.
To list, which in plain English, sell at the minimum, sell a part of it. You don't sell the most profitable. At the minimum, not only is it the most profitable, but it is the most strategic in terms of national security. If you list a company, you are subjecting the company to the rigors of the private sector. And the number one remit of a private sector entity is profit, pure and simple. The other strategic security considerations will be downgraded, if any at all. So you are putting the profit motive before anything else. But critically, Gridco is the brain, the nerve center of the national distribution system.
Right, so the former Prime Minister made it clear that, well, he doesn't have a problem with VRA going, but he tends to have a problem if it has to be with Gridco because of understanding
on security business or for security issues.
But you have more on the energy sector. You carry on.
It's quite unfortunate, but let's go on and listen to what the industry players are also saying. The industry players are expressing mixed reactions over government's decision to list the VRA and Gridco on the Ghana Stock Exchange. Let's now listen to Ishmael Ejukumhene of The Kite.
I think it takes us back to the fundamental issue that the sector is facing. They need capital reinjection. So if the owner, hitherto, the owner of the utility basically either puts in their own money or they go borrow money on their concessionary loans from the IFCs and all these people to build. I think it's a clear admission that government is not in the position to recapitalize the utilities. Anything that allows VRA to come into a stronger financial position, and if it's going to go via the route of floating shares on the Ghana Stock Exchange, I think it will be a good move. The question I'm asking is that would you put your money if they were to float shares in VRA in its current stage? And I asked you, maybe Data Bank or there's a transaction and they floated the shares, it's listed on the stock, and they've done the initial IPO. Are you going to put your money in VRA when you know that they are indebted up to the tune of a certain amount?
So I think it's currently not that attractive.
Yes. So normally when they're doing the IPOs, they do what we call readying. So you make sure that you cut off all these things that will make it less attractive. But if we're able to package it properly and you convince investors that this is the way to go, and I will have to look at VRA's strategic plan as an investor and decide whether I want to go and put my money in there. VRA is slightly tricky, but Gridco is in a very strong financial position than all the other power utilities. So,
and away from energy, Barclays Africa has assured the operations, focus and strategy of Barclays Bank Ghana will not be affected despite changes in shareholding structure of its parent company after the announcement of the separation from its UK business. The move is in line with UK regulatory requirements for Barclays PLC to reduce its holdings in Africa. Now, responding to a question posed by Joy Business in an investor call from South Africa, Chief Executive Maria Ramos said the separation would rather help its focus more on the region whilst growing the Ghanaian business.
It does give us the opportunity to pursue our destiny as a standalone bank. Now, that means looking for opportunities. Those opportunities aren't going to immediately be about us going to look for an acquisition in a new geography, but we have huge opportunities in our current geographies, and we are going to, we are completely focused on making sure that in the countries that we are in, we are going to continue to grow and to make the necessary investments for growth. And so the questions were asked by the gentleman in Ghana. I think Ghana is one of those places where we have already, been growing our business very significantly, and we see further opportunities for growth. We've got further opportunities for growth in Kenya. We see opportunities for growth in Botswana, and so it's in our current portfolio, we see great opportunities for continued growth and being masters of our own destiny.
Now, other news in the banking industry, there is now a new set of rules that will help better regulate lending activities in the country. It follows the coming into force of the amended Borrowers and Lenders Act, as well as the credit disclosure regulations. Judge Rafi tells us more.
The laws and regulations is part of the Bank of Ghana's move to better or bring about some transparency when it comes to the relationship between the lender and the borrower. The Borrowers and Lenders Act 2017, which according to the Bank of Ghana had been passed by Parliament and assented by the President, gives clear guidelines on how the credit arrangement should be structured when it comes to interest payments, asset that can even be presented as security. The disclosure and product transparency rules is a set of clear rules for credit and product as well as service delivery. For instance, every financial institution, before extending credit, to spell out the rights of the borrower or the interest charges, and the arrangement also must be documented with the borrower having a copy. The lender should also provide the consumer's request a monthly statement capturing the status of the credit, including what is actually supposed to pay when it comes to fees and interest payments and all other charges. The lender shall also provide to the consumer all the details that matters. The new arrangement, for instance, gives a practical example of the cost to the borrower. For instance, if one is taken home or taken about 10,000 Ghana cedis from a bank, the expected interest to be 1,326, meaning that the total cost of that loan would be about 11,326 Ghana cedis, with an interest of about 23%. However, what you actually be taking home is 9,800. The regulations also provide details to deal with complaints. According to the Bank of Ghana, it will not hesitate to sanction and fine any institutions that are not complying with this new set of regulations.
And finally, in tonight's business, Finance House NDK says it has reached an agreement with government over the payment of judgment debt running into millions of Ghana cedis. And Accra High Court last year granted the request of NDK to freeze critical accounts of government, including the Consolidated Fund and the Treasury single accounts. This follows the previous administration's failure to repay loan due NDK after completing a rural electrification project. Oko Nikwe Jani is Chief Executive of NDK Financial Services.
Court has given an instruction for a certain amount to be paid. Well, I don't need to mention it here, by 28th of this month, and by 28th of this month we should also go back to court with a settlement, and already we are talking about settlement. It's looking very positive. They are the only ones who know the reason why they have prolonged this matter beyond reasonable time, because we began the case long ago in 2009. We had judgment in 2013. The final judgment was delivered by the Supreme Court on the 28th of November 2014. Interest continues to run on compound basis to date.
What about the Ghana-Shi? Is it still in place?
The Ghana-Shi is still in place, and it's expected that when eventually we finally agree on settlements, which has to be announced to the Supreme Court on the 28th of February, we would have taken that into consideration.
And that wraps up business for tonight. Many thanks for your attention. My name is Emmanuel Abuaji Riafi. For more business news, log on to myjoyonline.com/business. Good evening.